Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Keita Jeter from the Office of Family and Community Engagement. On behalf of my fellow panel members, welcome to the second Capitol hearing. Today is August 20th, 2020. We are holding the second Capitol hearing electronically via Zoom. The purpose of the second hearing is to comply with the school code provisions regarding the FY21 budget. For the record, notice of this public hearing was published in the Chicago Sun-Times, a newspaper of general circulation in the city of Chicago on August 14, 2020. I would like to also note for the record the CPS staff members and board members present here today. Chief Operating Officer Arnie Rivera, Deputy Operating Officer Lindy McGuire, Executive Director of Planning and Capital Construction Ivan Hansen, Director of Capital Operation Benny Dye, Chief Equity Officer Dr. Maurice Winning, Chief Financial Officer Miroslava Krug. I'd like to also acknowledge Board Member Lucino Sotelo and Board Member Amy Rome. Let's begin the FY21 Capital presentation with Dr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Keita. Hello to everyone in Chicago, everyone who's watching wherever you are in this space. I'm very appreciative to have this time to just share with you the work that we've done and also obtain community feedback. Whenever I find the opportunity just to thank people for partnering with Chicago Public Schools to advance equity, I just want you to know that I appreciate every moment and I look forward to our continued collaboration and progress. The sole focus of the day is very simple: to provide an overview of the FY21 budget and to obtain feedback from our stakeholders. So like Keita said, she introduced all of us, and so here's your team. Many of us were with you before when we engaged you virtually to just talk about the equity index and also prioritizing the needs of our district. We will share a little bit more about that shortly. As we enter this space, whenever we think about equity, we just released the final version of the CPS Equity Framework yesterday, and you could find it at equity.cps.edu. We believe that each of us must come to this space with the CPS Equity Curve. Curiosity suspends judgment, urgency recognizes the timely nature of the work, resiliency says the work is tough and we will get through it, vulnerability says I don't have all of the answers, but we can solve it through the collective wisdom, and empathy is how we really connect to other people's stories. So I would like each of you to take a moment to find a word that resonates with you as we engage in this time together. So back in March 2019, we launched the CPS 5-year vision. And a key piece of that vision was integrity, where we said that we would listen to our communities and we would respond and use their feedback. Well, today I hope that you find that we have listened to you and that we are responding appropriately. It's critically important that we have the strong partnership. Since Dr. Jackson became CEO, she told us, Maurice, we got to make sure that we're engaging our communities in a way that puts investment into those communities. So thank you. Our definition for equity is pretty simple, I think, that we define this as championing the individual needs, cultures, identities, talents, abilities, and languages and interests of each of our students, recognizing that Chicago Public Schools has a diverse student population, and ensuring that they receive the necessary supports and opportunities to meet their unique needs and aspirations. And we believe that is also extremely important as we think about having schools that are safe, warm, and dry, clean, bright, and beautiful. So here's our approach to equity. We believe that we have to approach this work with the CPS equity lens. And a critical piece of that lens is inclusive partnerships, where we say we bring together those who have been historically impacted, those who have institutional memory, and those responsible for implementation to the table to figure out what do we do to ensure that we respond to all of the needs of our diverse stakeholders, especially our students. So today is about listening and informing. As we get to the end of this session, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts? What are your ideas? How did you respond when you saw the proposed budget? And we also, before that, we want to just share with you more information about the budget, specifically the equity index and how the money is being spent. So this process goes way back. So in January, the Office of Capital, my office, the Office of Equity, the Office of FACE, and the Office of Budget all got together in a room to respond to Dr. Jackson's mission and vision around how do we make sure that we engage stakeholders in this capital investment process. And so since that very beginning, we started off, we pulled some data together. We had some parent focus groups to make sure that we were putting the right information in front of our stakeholders. We had some virtual capital sessions by region. We had 5 altogether. We listened to your feedback, we analyzed that data, and then we came back and used that data to inform how we do and design this capital plan. In between the time of developing the plan, you also had an opportunity to learn more about the ARA process through, I think it was our 4th annual regional analysis, where you had an opportunity to weigh in and say, this is what I want for my school, this is what I want for my community. We took all that information, we drafted it, and here we are today to just further discuss the outcome of all of those conversations and engagement sessions. So here's the CPS Equity Index that was used for the capital work. You can see, but based on the different colors, there were 3 important groups. Thinking about what's the historical investment of capital, that was 10%. Demographic information centering on who are our students, what are their needs, how do we think about those who are furthest from opportunity, whether it's by special education, economically disadvantaged, or limited English proficiency. And then the last group that we feel is extremely important, you may have known that we've used the UIC Economic Hardship Index to make better sense of how do we look at the state of communities and what is the hyper-resourcing we need to do, or what's the investment strategy to ensure that schools and communities get what they need. So you can see there are 4 areas. Where do we find that there's an invest in Southwest so we can do compound investment between what the mayor is saying and what we want to do in Chicago Public Schools? Life expectancy index, recognizing we want to make sure that people live long, healthy lives in our city. That's in relation to health factors. Students experiencing homelessness. This was something that you all told us that we needed to have within this index as we think about the response to COVID and racial injustice and economic hardship across the city. And then finally, community hardship factors, once again, using the university's economic hardship index in the city of Chicago's. So all of that fancy stuff, all of those numbers created a score for every single school. And we took that equity score and we combined it with the facilities needs or the buildings needs index, because we know a couple of things. First, a lot of our older buildings are further north of the city, and a lot of the critical needs are further south of the city. And so you have to do a strong combination of both to prioritize, and that's what we did. 50% of the equity index, 50% of the building needs to create the prioritized list, and so here we are. That was kind of very fast, but I hope that you will ask us questions or leave us things to think about. In the meantime, I'm going to turn it over to Ivan and Vinny, who are going to explain how the money is being spent. Thank you. Ivan?
Thank you, Dr. Sweeney, and thank you all for taking the time to join us today. I'll be providing you an overview of our FY21 capital budget. CPS is committed to promoting equitable access to high-quality school environments, and equity served as a foundation for our FY21 capital plan. The district's equity office played an important role in developing this capital proposal by helping us to ensure that we share the district's record-setting progress of getting equity across CPS schools. In addition, the capital planning process included several enhancements, most notably around transparency and community outreach. The district conducted 5 public meetings and evaluated over 800 survey responses to gather community input during the capital plan development process. We also developed the equity index that Dr. Sweeney previously discussed. Facility need projects were further prioritized using the equity index to ensure budget decisions helped advance equity. All proposed projects were determined by the following criteria: equity, assessed need, educational priorities, and available funding. CPS's capital plan aligns with the priorities outlined in the draft Educational Facilities Master Plan. The FY21 budget for Chicago Public Schools includes a capital budget totaling $758 million of investments that will focus on priority facility needs at neighborhood schools, full-day pre-K expansions, ADA accessibility, and continued expansion of technology upgrades, modern science labs, and other academic priorities. To support schools throughout the city, the FY21 capital plan provides funding in 6 main areas: critical facility needs, interior improvements, programmatic investments, overcrowding relief, site improvements, and IT and security upgrades. Our facility portfolio is extremely large and includes 522 campuses with 798 buildings, which is over 62 million square feet. On an average, facility is over 80 years old, and the total facility need is over $3 billion. Since FY16, CPS has invested over $2.1 billion into capital improvements across the district. These projects included major renovations to ensure schools stay warm, safe, and dry, facility construction to relieve overcrowding, security cameras provided a safer environment for our children, and renovations to aid programmatic enhancements, among others. Additionally, CPS is investing $100 million over the next 5 years to ensure all CPS campuses are more accessible. The FY21 capital budget is funded by future bond proceeds, backed by evidence-based funding, potential state and capital funding, and potential outside resources that have become identified. I'm now going to turn over to Vinny to get into more detail of each one of these budget categories.
Thank you, Ivan, and good afternoon to all of you. And thank you again for taking time to be present for this session of the FY21 Capital Plan hearings. As Ivan stated, I'm going to take a deeper dive into the budget and explain the categories that make up the $653 million proposed budget. The FY21 capital budget includes $314.7 million to address critical facility needs. The first category in this section is exterior envelopes, which includes roofs, windows, and exterior masonry, all directly affecting our ability to provide warm, safe, and dry facilities to our students and staff and community. There are 20+ projects proposed in this category in this year's budget. The mechanical projects focus on core mechanical systems, essentially heating and cooling the buildings and associated electrical and plumbing infrastructure to improve the indoor thermal environment of our buildings. The FY21 budget will include at least 7 proposed mechanical projects. Projects in both of these categories include repairs to interior finishes that may have been damaged as a result of the deficiencies in these 2 categories. The emergency unanticipated facility repair category is to address emergency situations like fire, flood, or freezing, and unforeseen facility repairs like those that result from rain or windstorms like we experienced last week in the Chicago area. Also included in the facility needs category are programs to repair and/or replace obsolete critical systems like our fire alarm systems or the chimney stabilization program, our mason remediation program, and the critical temperature controls program, which includes our building automation systems. As we discussed during the community engagement meetings, this budget includes $20 million for the ADA program. And this is the first phase of a five-year, $100 million commitment from CPS for accessibility improvements in our buildings. The next category, interior improvements, includes $9 million for restroom modernization. This is a new category added as a direct result of the feedback collected during the capital community engagement process earlier this year. Projects in this category are prioritized based on the equity index and need. And over the next 5 years, CPS is committed to renovating at least 1 male, female, and staff restroom in all district elementary schools. The next category is programmatic investments. Every student in Chicago deserves access to a high-quality education in a 21st century learning environment. And to help ensure our students receive the well-rounded education they need, CPS is investing $202 million to modernize classrooms throughout the city. These funds are being focused on the following priority areas of our school. The first one, universal pre-K classroom. This category is to move the district closer to its goal of providing free, full-day pre-K for our 4-year-olds. CPS is allocating $100 million to develop new pre-K classrooms throughout the city. This is phase 3 of the UPK expansion. Phase 1 focused on interior renovations, phase 2 on interior renovations and annexes, Phase 3 will primarily focus on leased spaces. The next category, science lab modernizations. In this final year of the district's initiative to ensure that all CPS schools have a modern science lab, CPS is investing $30 million in the FY21 plan to build labs in 31 district high schools. Between FY19 and FY21, CPS would have invested $78 million to provide modern science labs at 75 district high schools. The next category, modern spaces for new high-quality academic programming. Earlier this year, CPS announced that 22 schools would receive new high-quality academic programs as part of the district's annual program application process, in which school communities apply for new high-quality programming, including the IB program, the STEM program, and the dual language, to name a few. In addition to the $18 million in programming that the district has committed to supporting over the next 6 years for these schools, the FY21 budget includes $22 million in capital funding to build and renovate spaces to support these new programs. The FY21 budget also includes a $50 million investment in a new state-of-the-art athletic facility to serve students in the South and near South areas. CPS is finalizing the location for the facility and will work with the community to identify the programmatic and sports offerings. This is one of 2 new constructions in this proposed plan. The next category is overcrowding relief. Unlike in many prior years in which a significant portion of the available capital funding was devoted to new construction, the majority of the available dollars in the FY21 plan are being allocated to modernizing and repairing existing facilities. However, some buildings within the district cannot efficiently serve their currently enrolled or projected enrolled population due to limited space and require relief by way of new capacity or capacity expansion. In the FY21 plan, the district is proposing to move forward with one expansion project to address overcrowding relief at Saguanash Elementary School by building an annex. At 123% utilization, Saguanash is a heavily overcrowded elementary school where 99% of the students who attend live in the neighborhood school boundaries. Due to the school community's growing population and high enrollment levels among neighborhood students, this investment is needed to ensure the school can support area families in the years to come. This is the second of the 2 proposed new constructions in this plan. The next category, IT and security infrastructure. As the district works to provide devices and home internet access to support remote learning, we are also continuing our multi-year investment to modernize school technology and strengthen high-speed internet access throughout the city. As part of this plan, the district is allocating $35 million to promote equity by increasing the student-to-device ratios at the district's highest need schools and improving network infrastructure across the district. In addition, $2 million will be allocated for security investments in our schools, including cameras, intercom phones, alarms, and screening equipment. The next category is site improvements. In the proposed budget, CPS would invest $22.3 million in site improvements to develop new playgrounds, play lots, and turf fields at over 25 schools across the city. These investments leverage external funding and our partnership with the Department of Water Management and the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, and will help ensure students can benefit from a well-rounded education that promotes healthy and active development while providing a resource for the surrounding communities. This category also includes site upgrades such as parking lots. Parking lots was another area prioritized by many during the community engagement sessions. Critical upgrades in this area will be addressed based on condition, need, and safety. The next category is capital project support services. The budget includes $26 million in project support services necessary to implement the capital program, as well as support facilities projects. This includes management, planning, design, assessment, estimating, and more, all needed to successfully implement a capital plan of this size, $653 million. In addition to the $653 million in guaranteed spending for capital projects, the FY21 budget includes an additional $105 million in potential outside funding, a $50 million allocation from the state of Illinois to plan and design a new high school for the Near South community. CPS is committed to developing a new high school that meets the needs of the Near South community, and later this year, we will be launching a community engagement process to begin the process of considering key questions about the development of the school. Also included are other potential external funding, up to $55 million from sources like TIF, aldermanic money, grants, and more. The deferred needs at our school are many, and while we do not have the resources to cure them all, this budget touches at least 250 schools. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Dr. Sweeney.
Thank you, thank you. I want us to revisit a couple of maps. So the last time we were together back in May, I showed you 3 maps to just lay out where projects had been over the last 5 years. So the map on your left, you can see the amount of money equals to the darker blue. So that means we've invested more money in those communities between FY16 and FY20. And you can also see where the projects were looking at the map in the middle. You can see the distribution of projects over 5 years across the city. And then the map on the right shows you using the UIC Economic Hardship Index to look at who are our hardest hit communities, where have we seen systemic disinvestment over time, and how do we think about investing in communities that deserve resources, opportunities, and supports. So I want to show you this new map from us. We wanted to do a layout, so what we did was we pared down the types of budget categories that we have. We'll probably leave this on the screen while people give their comments about their communities and their thoughts about the budget. But you can see the darker red areas where the investments are and how we just have more investment as you get darker red on this map. And so we wanted to show you, I wanted to personally show you this as a way of understanding where the money is going. And I'm definitely open to your feedback on how do we need to show data in order to better have a stronger sense of transparency and integrity like we talked about in the very beginning. So with all of that, I'm going to now pass it back over to Ms. Jeter, who will give us some direction around listening to our communities. I also just want to put out there, the timing is 2 minutes. I know sometimes we have a lot to say. I want to make sure that we hear from everyone during this time. I don't want anyone to be cut off at the end of this hearing. I really want to make sure that I'm capturing notes and listening intently. So please, if you can, just maybe practice your 2 lines before we start. But I'm definitely looking forward to hearing from everybody. Passing it to you, Ms. Jeter.
Thank you, Dr. Sweeney, Ivan, and Benny. We will now proceed with today's public comment segment. And before doing so, I would like to share the direction for public comment. For the record, I would like to note that registration for the public hearing began on Friday, August 14, 2020 at 10:30 a.m. and closed on Monday, August 17, 2020 at 5 p.m. or until all 30 slots filled for each of the hearings, whichever occurred first. Individuals who registered to speak will have 2 minutes to comment. Participants will be alerted when 30 seconds remain. After 2 minutes, the facilitator will end the speaking time and promptly proceed to the next participant. Individuals who registered to speak will have 2 minutes to comment. I will be calling speakers in chronological order. Members of the public may submit written comment related to the FY21 proposed capital via the capital budget hearing public comment form posted on our website at www.cps.edu/capital comment form by 5 p.m. Monday, August 24th, 2020. This hearing will conclude after the last person who has registered to speak has spoken, or at 2 p.m., whichever occurs first. When called, please state your name for the record. I will proceed by calling the first speaker, Cindy Wang, followed by speaker number 2, Teresa Court.
Hello, this is Cindy Huang. Hello.
Please proceed.
Hello, my name is Cindy Huang, and I'm a mom of a rising first and third grader at Saguenash Elementary. When my daughter entered kindergarten in 2017, the roster on orientation day had close to 40 children on the list per classroom. I cried and started looking for homes immediately in the suburbs due to this absurd. Newly 5-year-olds effectively learn while being sardines in a can. As a result of the booming class size, Saguenash administration moved music to a cart and opened a third classroom. However, is that fair to the community, the student body, and the teacher to lose a common classroom such as music to open a third classroom? Fast forward, my son started kindergarten in 2019, and yet again, the numbers were staggering at over 90 plus students for the upcoming class. And yet again, another special art was moved to a cart. This is not sustainable. To continue forcing huge admission per grade level to only 2 homerooms. If enrollment continues to be around 90 students per year for the upcoming kindergarten class, it is impossible to sustain this. There are no rooms available. Each grade needs 3 classrooms, and we need this infrastructure now. It is unsafe to congregate large classes in the gym. It is unsafe to hold small groups at landings at the staircase. It is unsafe to have 40 students in a class that can only hold 32 desks. Enrollment has increased 29% in the last 10 years. There are 664 students in a building that should hold 540. The numbers speak for themselves. Enrollment continues to climb 4% year after year, but in fall 2020, it has increased to 6% and school has not started. We need funds for capital expansion, and we need it now. Please approve the budget for the capital expansion funds for Saguenash Elementary. I truly believe this fund allocation will be well warranted and justified. Thank you for your time and service.
Thank you, Ms. Wang. We will now proceed with speaker number 2, Teresa Court, followed by speaker number 3, Violetta Balin.
This is Teresa Court.
Ms. Court, please.
Can you
proceed.
hear me?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak about the overcrowding at Saguenash Elementary School. I have been a teacher at Saguenash for over 22 years. I have spent my years teaching special education and currently teaching technology to every student in our building, kindergarten through 8th grade. I know you have heard about our overcrowding. We are at 24% capacity with growth rates at 4 to 6%. Art, music, special education classes, related services, MTSS, ESL are in the hallways. But I would like to address what it really is like to have 40 primary students in a class. It is so very difficult and next to impossible to teach the way you want to. You want a positive vibe and energy in your classroom. But with 40 students, it gets loud and unfocused quickly. You spend so much time refocusing students that you know you are missing opportunities to help someone or challenge a student's learning the way that you want to as an educator. Teaching technology and trying to get 40 kindergarten students up and learning is hard and frustrating for students and myself. 40 students all need help at the same time, and it is next to impossible to address 40 students' individual needs. I wish I had more time to address what 40 students are like moving in the hall, going to lunch, recess, switching classes. They try not to disrupt other classes, but sometimes it is just too difficult. I am asking for your support in approving the vitally needed expansion at Saguenash School. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Court. We will now move forward with speaker number 3, Violetta Balin, followed by speaker number 4, Aaron Alvarez.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Violeta Bolan, and I'm a Saguenash Elementary parent of 2 children. My daughter was in a class of 40 kids last year, and she will be in a class of 41 this year. My son will be in a class of 39. In the short time I have, I would like to relate to you how overcrowding has directly impacted my children. During the first parent-teacher conference last November, my daughter's teacher shared that she was not participating too much in the class discussion. The feedback surprised me, so I asked her that night what was going on and if there is anything that is holding her back. What she said left me heartbroken and speechless. Mom, what's the point? They can barely see me. We are like sardines in there. Also, if I say something once, I don't feel it is fair to raise my hand again because other children need a chance to speak too. By March, my daughter confessed that without her teacher's knowledge, she was reading under her desk instead of participating in the class. She became so disengaged and unmotivated that more than once told me that she no longer wanted to go to school. This is a straight A student who will be accelerated this year who wanted to give up on public schooling. I would also like to share with you how learning in the hallways had impacted my son. He is a happy-go-lucky kid who usually has a huge smile on his face when I pick him up from school.
Please conclude.
One day when he got out, he was very pale, quiet, and looked like he had a world on his shoulders. He said that while he was learning in the hallway, a drill started that day. He said he felt lonely, scared, and very, very small because he was not with his friends. I cannot even begin to imagine how he would feel if he's ever in the hallway during a lockdown that is not a drill. Thank you very much for your time and especially your service to the entire CPS community.
Thank you, Ms. Balin, for your comment. We will now move forward with speaker number 4, Aaron Alvarez, followed by speaker number 5, Heather Van Zant.
Good afternoon, President DeValle and members of the board. My name is Erin Alvarez, and I'm a proud parent of a 2nd, 4th, and 6th grade sons at Saguenash Elementary. Thank you so much for the inclusion of our school in your capital plan and your consideration for our much needed addition. 2 years ago, we transferred our boys from a neighborhood Catholic school. The reason we did this is because of the diversity and quality of education we get at Saguenash Elementary. We love the teachers, the staff, and Principal Munns and Mr. Kennedy are doing an amazing job. The one hesitation, and everyone on this call has heard this, is the overcrowding. That was a hesitation then, but our teachers and staff do an incredible job of trying to find creative ways to utilize every space. I've seen it firsthand, and we've all heard about it on this call. But I think the current pandemic has also underscored the need for more space and created more fears for many of our families. The current space plans make social distancing impossible. I know several more families in the neighborhood that would really like to transfer their children to Saguenash Elementary as well, but they simply will not do it because they're worried about how their kids would cope in a class with 40 kids. We have had 40 in fact, kids come over the last 2 years from different schools. And we've had an increase of 29% over the past 10 years. Where are we going to put all of these children? Our community is coming to you and asking for your help. And once again, I thank you again for your time and consideration. And we are very grateful for this opportunity to speak with you and for you considering this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alvarez, for your comments. We will now move forward with speaker number 5, Heather Van Zant, followed by speaker number 6, Vicky Perzicka.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can. Please proceed.
Wonderful. My name is Heather Van Zant, and I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I am a parent of 3 boys with a 4th grader and kindergartner attending Saguenash Elementary this fall. I'm very appreciative of the fact that you found room in the budget for our capital expansion efforts. My 4th grader has been in an overcapacity classroom since we started at Saguenash. Currently, we are at 123% capacity, and that number is expected to grow as more families move to Saguenash and children age into Saguenash. Currently, 16 of our 21 homerooms are over capacity, and this includes the classrooms for both of my children. I love our community, and I cannot wait for this project to break ground. I'm not sure if you've had the opportunity to work in the classroom when it is overcrowded. Last year, my third grader was in a classroom with 40 students. Even the most studious child struggles to succeed in that environment, let alone a student with a learning disability or a language barrier. Currently, 45% of our students speak a second language, and over 44 languages are spoken here. While my child does not have a diagnosis, he does struggle greatly with executive functioning skills, and it is a challenge to keep him on task in this environment. I have similar concerns for my incoming kindergartner and our toddler. As an active member of our PTO board and a room parent, I have seen firsthand how much our school needs this project. Our students with MTSS support will benefit so greatly from proper classrooms to facilitate their individual instruction. I've been on campus numerous times and witnessed the small group sessions taking place in the hallways and storage closets. Not only is it difficult to focus on these sessions when other students and staff are walking by frequently, it is also a safety hazard for the whole student body. And none of this takes into consideration the safety concerns we have now with the future hybrid model. With my 3 boys, we will be at Saguenash for the next 14 years. It will be so wonderful for our beautifully diverse student body to benefit from this effort. I thank you again for your time today, and I am asking you, as a proud Saguenash and Chicago parent, to please vote yes on the proposed budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Van Zant. We will now move forward with speaker number 6, Ms. Vicky Cruziclo, followed by speaker number 7, Catherine Schumer.
Good afternoon, this is Vicky Curzidlo.
Please proceed.
I have taught special education at Saguenash Elementary for 16 years and lived in the Chicago neighborhood for the last 8. As a teacher, Chicago Teachers Union delegate, and proud parent of 3 Saguenash students, my concern for the conditions resulting from Saguenash's overcrowding is informed by multiple interacting perspectives. With no other available space to serve Saguenash's growing student body, MDF rooms have become makeshift classrooms. Students and service providers have been forced to meet on stairwell landings, in storage closets, and along hallways. Saguenash's community of diverse learners in particular need a learning environment in which distractions are kept to a minimum. These suboptimal conditions prevent Saguenash teachers from providing the accommodations required in students' IEPs and cultivating the privacy and confidentiality necessary for diverse learners. Even more pressingly, these ad hoc learning spaces are acute threats to physical safety for our students and staff. Saguenash has already incurred fines and fire code violations for obstruction of stairways and perilous nuisance of life and property. As the school's enrollment grows, its attempts to mitigate the overcrowding will only become even more dangerous. I'm asking for your assistance in approving the necessary expansion of Saguenash Elementary to alleviate these concerns.
Proceed.
Thank you so much for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Curziclo. We will now move forward with speaker number 7, Catherine Schumer, followed by speaker number 8, Solomon Catani.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Please proceed.
Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Schumer, a proud Chicago parent of an incoming 3rd grader and kindergartner at Saguenash School. Thank you for providing this capital hearing with a community engagement opportunity. It helps with transparency of how funds are budgeted and connects it to the needs and voices of Chicago families affected by your decisions. In the past 2 days, you've heard from my fellow school parents, teachers, and elected officials already. Saguenash School has a major overcrowding problem. As a parent of a biracial children, we value Saguenash School for its diverse student population in ethnicity and income levels, its high academic standing in the neighborhood, and its welcoming community. We believe in public education and that every student in Chicago deserves access to a high-quality education in the 21st century. However, I fear that Saguenash School's highly reputable academic achievements compromise the mere safety of our children. As an emergency manager by profession, being prepared and to mitigate against natural or other man-made disasters is fundamental in providing a safe space for children to learn. With children and essential workers in storage spaces and hallways and several fire code violations, it is evident that my children are at high risk when there may be an emergency, such as a tornado or active shooter. Additionally, in this global pandemic environment, schools will need to adapt to guidelines in teaching children safely and protecting our essential workers. Since 76% of our classrooms are overcrowded, the threats of safety and access to learning become exacerbated. With a capital expansion, it will provide the much needed space to ensure our children's well-being, academic learning, and social development, reducing the risk at these times of uncertainty. Therefore, please vote yes to the overcrowding relief line item in the proposed budget to ensure the safety and learning needs of the growing student population at Saguenash School. Thank you very much for your commitment and service to the City of Chicago.
Thank you, Ms. Schumer. We will now proceed with speaker number 8, Solomon Katani, followed by speaker number 9, Candace Sukowski.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon. We are Doctors Mary and Salman Katani, tenured BIPOC professors at UIC and proud CPS parents of Maya, a rising 7th grader at Saguenash Elementary. As professors and as parents, we show our belief in the power of a public education, but overcrowding has always been an issue at Saguenash Elementary ever since Maya started there 5 years ago. A few years back, we pulled Maya out of Saguenash and put her into a private school. However, we returned after only 1 semester because Saguenash Elementary is the place where Maya has been the happiest because of the extremely talented and caring teachers and administrators who demonstrate their commitment to diversity and inclusive excellence. Saguenash Elementary is an exemplary model public education, a place where a child can bring her full self to learn and grow each and every day. In Maya's own words, this is the first time where I have truly felt accepted for who I am. But space remains an acutely problematic issue at Saguenash Elementary. As you've heard, it is at 123% capacity, is non-compliant with space requirements for IEP testing, and has been cited by the fire department for unsafe conditions. You see, as parents, we shouldn't have to choose between inclusion and safety. They both form the very bedrock of a child's education. Therefore, we urge you to follow through now with the funds that are earmarked for Saguenash Elementary to expand the gymnasium and build 12 classrooms above it. We are confident that this will go a long way to resolving the space issue and allow children like our Maya to get the education they deserve in both a safe and welcoming environment. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. We will now proceed with speaker number 9, Candace Sukowski, followed by speaker number 10, Rebecca Locks.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Candace Sukowski. I am a PTO member, former PTA member, president, chairperson, speaking on behalf of Saguenash Elementary School, where my daughter has attended since 2013. In 2013, my daughter's kindergarten class had 39 students, and since that time, her average class size has varied from 42 to 37 students each year. The Saguenash School building has not grown as the neighborhood has grown and is in dire need of an expansion. During my daughter's kindergarten year, I volunteered in her classroom 2 and sometimes 3 times a week once I knew how massive her class size was. While volunteering over the years, I've had the benefit of observing the classes at Saguenash and how the amazing teachers are constantly figuring out ways to persevere and teach and get high-performing results despite severe overcrowding in an often unsafe environment. Saguenash has fantastic teachers, strong leadership. What we do not have is enough space. When students do eventually go back into the physical building, how can a separate care room for 6 students be provided when we are already using hallways and stairway landings for instruction? The fire department has written up several citations for unsafe conditions. The Saguenash School building is in dire need of this expansion. Approving this capital budget to expand the Saguenash School building will reduce overcrowding at our school. As of today, you've heard it many times now, we are at 123 or 104% capacity. 16 out of the 21 homerooms are overcrowded. Lack of adequate space is our issue and concern, but we are at a breaking point and an expansion is necessary. We are grateful that money has been found and earmarked for this expansion. You now have the ability to make an immediate positive impact by voting to approve the budget for Sauganash expansion. Please approve this and make this space safe for our students and teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zukowski. We will now move forward with speaker number 10, Rebecca Locks, followed by speaker number 11, Carol Steele.
Hi, can you hear me?
And please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. My name is Rebecca Locks, and I am a former CPS teacher as well as a current CPS school teacher substitute. My husband is also a CPS teacher and a graduate of Chicago Public Schools. I have a son entering 3rd grade at Sauganash Elementary, a son entering 1st grade, and a 3-year-old daughter. When looking for a place to live with my family, it was very important to me that I was able to walk my children to school and be a part of a diverse community where kids attended their neighborhood school. I was ecstatic to find a home in the Sauganash neighborhood because I knew that Sauganash School was an outstanding neighborhood school. We were told about the overcrowding, however, private school was not an option for our family. My husband and I were both raised as public school students, and we believed that our children would receive the best education they could get through the public school system. When my son was entering kindergarten, I was astounded to learn that there were 42 children in each class. The parents were so worried, and Ms. Munz assuaged our concerns, telling us that it would be okay. They did the best they could with aides and helpers. They were able to make it work, but it was not fair to the kids or teachers in the classroom. Not to mention, it's the safety issue, which saw us written up by the fire department. 2 years later, when my middle son entered kindergarten, we were in the same position. This is an annual problem, and it's not going away. As of today, we are at 123% capacity. Our enrollment has consistently grown 4% every year, and this year rose to 6% with an additional 36 students. 16 out of 21 homeroom classrooms are overcrowded. We have maximized our space, and we are out of options. I am here to request a capital expansion for our students. My family will be a part of this school community for the next 10 years. We do not want to accept boundary changes or closed enrollment to solve our overcrowded school. We want a school that will best support our teachers and students, and the best way for that is to happen with this capital expansion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Locks. We will now proceed with speaker number 11, Carol Steele, followed by speaker number 12, Sarah Creviston. Ms. Steele, can you hear me? Ms. Steele, can you unmute? Okay, so we're gonna move along to speaker number 12, Sarah Creviston.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can't.
My name is Sarah Creviston, and I had the privilege of speaking during yesterday's hearing, and I am grateful to share my concerns with you again today. I have 3 students at Sauganash School, and I also have a 2-year-old who will graduate 8th grade in 2031. We started at the school in 2014, and we will be at the school for the next 11 years. My 3rd grader had 40 kids in his kindergarten class, and he will be in a 41 student classroom again in 3rd grade. I knew I'd be speaking today, so I asked Leo about his classroom. He said, "I get frustrated that I have to wait for so many kids to get helped before I can be helped." It struck me. He said helped, and I think he was referring to help with schoolwork. But the scary thing is that being helped could refer to so much more. If the school had an emergency, how could one teacher help so many kids? I have always been concerned about the large class sizes, but had confidence in the amazing teachers at Sauganash. I realize now that I had disregarded the safety issues. A minute later, Leo came back to me to say more. He said, "Mom, also the bathroom breaks are hard because there are too many kids in there at once." I had never considered that the bathrooms are also overcrowded. It's a whole new safety issue that I hadn't thought about until my son raised the issue. My family and friends have questioned why we would send our kids to a school with such overcrowding. Some encourage us to move to private schools or just move out of the city. I don't want to. I believe in the Chicago Public Education mission, and I believe in the importance of a diverse learning community. The first time I walked into Saguenash School, I felt at home. I knew immediately it was the right place to send my son when starting kindergarten. I appreciate your consideration to resolve our concerns and provide the funds needed for an expansion. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Creviston. We will now move forward with speaker number 11, Carol Steele, followed by speaker number 13, Christina Tolson.
Hello, this is Carol Steele. Can you hear me?
I can. Please proceed.
Good afternoon. I am Carol Steele, a staff member at Saguenash Elementary. I work doing MTSS for literacy for all grades. For those that are not familiar, MTS is the multi-tier system of support. It's for students that need more than core classroom instruction. My students need targeted interventions to help them be successful. Some of my MTS students go on to be identified as diverse learners. Why am I speaking today? I am speaking because my MTSS kids work in a hallway next to a stairwell. Due to our Saguenash overcrowding, this is the only place for us to work because every other nook and cranny and room are filled. It is difficult to keep students focused and on task in a hallway, especially my little ones. For example, classrooms of students using the stairwell during change of period time. We have to pause our work during all the commotion. It goes without saying, as you've heard from many before me, my work area puts me in a fire hazard as well as not the best place to be during a serious weather event or, goodness forbid, an active shooter incident. My main concern about working in a hallway due to overcrowding is the effect it has on my students. Does a hallway environment give the kids the best chance to get the most out of our small group work? No. Older students are very aware that they are receiving extra help, and they are embarrassed when other kids see them. Not a positive social emotional experience for sure. Are they going to perform their best on progress monitoring when the hallway is filled with distractions? Definitely not. A quiet room with the door would benefit the students I work with tremendously. So in closing, I ask for the board's approval of the Saguenash expansion. Thank you for your time and service.
Thank you, Ms. Steele. We will now move forward with speaker number 13, Christina Tolson, followed by speaker number 15, Malin Bassinat.
Thank you. This is Christina Tolson. Can you hear me?
Yes, please move forward.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak today as well as yesterday. My name is Christina Tolson, and I am an LSC parent rep speaking on behalf of Saguenash Elementary School. I'm also a proud former CPS student from Luther Burbank Elementary School. As a parent of 3 children at Saguenash School, which is a beautiful school, as you've heard, due to its diversity of 44 languages spoken, different religions, and a strong immigrant or first-generation student population. Saguenash is a true gem. Unfortunately, as you've heard through the speakers here, we are overcrowded and running out of time. The school is at 123% capacity and will continue to grow with early elementary grade classroom sizes surpassing 7th and 8th grade classroom sizes leaving, mainly due to expansion, smaller homes having more bedrooms added, as well as a new area that was created called Saguenash Glen of new homes. This year, my 5th grade daughter will be one of 38 students in her class. My 3rd grader will have 41 students in her class. And for my kindergartner boy, who is a young kindergartner, just turned 5, I fear for his classroom size since his grade has been larger year over year. We are in a desperate situation from a safety standpoint, as you heard, and from the ability from our students to learn properly and teachers to teach in this distracting, overcrowded environment. We are very grateful that CPS allocated funds in the capital budget for an expansion to provide relief to our overcrowded school. I'm here requesting your support and each of your votes on the proposed capital expansion plan for the Sauganash Elementary School. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Tassoni. We will now move forward with speaker number 15, Malin Vasanat, followed by speaker number 16, Tracy Myers.
Hi, this is Malin Vasavanand.
Please proceed.
Thank you. My name is Malin Vasavanand. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today about the capital expansion to reduce overcrowding at Sauganash Elementary School. First, I would like to speak of my experience as a CPS elementary school student. I am a first-generation Asian American who greatly benefited from the ESL program. I have such wonderful memories from my elementary school. I remember that my school had a large auditorium where I heard live classical music for the first time. My CPS school also had a library where there was space for my entire class and then some. It was a diverse school. Most of us took the bus from different Chicago neighborhoods. I wanted a similar experience for my girls, but wanted them to have more of a sense of community. That is why Sauganash, a diverse public neighborhood school, is a great choice for my two children. Carissa and Ella are part of the 45% of students who speak a second language at home. Their differences are celebrated on a day-to-day basis and during our International Night, which is the most attended event at our school. When asked what they missed during the COVID-19 quarantine, Carissa's friends will tell you it's Grandma Vasavanand's cooking. We definitely have the diversity. We definitely have the sense of community. What Carissa and Ella do not have is an auditorium or a library. They do not have adequate space as they are in school with 662 other students in a space meant for 540. They have large class sizes, 74 enrolled when Carissa entered kindergarten in 2014 and 90 enrolled when Ella entered kindergarten just 5 years later. I volunteer often at the school and have seen both Carissa and Ella trying to learn in the hallways. The overcrowding is concerning and it worries me to think about what could happen in an emergency. We love our school community. I'm sharing our story with hope that the capital expansion will be approved for Sauganash, and with hope that my girls will also look back on their elementary school experience and want the same for their families. Thank you for your time and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Ms. Vassavant. We will now move forward with speaker number 16, Tracy Myers, followed by speaker number 18, David Wu.
Hi, this is Tracy Mayer.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you today. My name is Tracy Mayer and I'm a proud Sauganash parent. My son Max is a sixth grader and my daughter Maddie is a Sauganash graduate and will be starting her junior year as a Taft Eagle. Sauganash is currently at 123% capacity. We are bursting at the seams. We have 664 students being taught in a building that safely accommodates only 540. As a parent volunteer, I walk past students receiving services with no privacy in crowded hallways, stairwells, storage rooms, near noisy copy machines, sitting at tables outside frequently visited restrooms with numerous distractions. There are diverse learners being educated in a storage room with no windows, where the light turns off every 20 minutes and someone has to press the button to turn it back on again. I have a child with ADHD and focus issues, and it breaks my heart to see students trying to focus and teachers doing their best to redirect them. Even more concerning, though, is that there is no door to close to lock and protect these students and teachers if there was a lockdown situation, an active shooter, or a safety concern. Our art and music teachers will be teaching from a cart, their classrooms having been reassigned. Art material storage will now be added to the numerous fire hazards we have already been cited for by the fire department. Instruments that we worked so hard to get are now piled in a mechanical room, another violation and a waste that they are not in children's hands. The next classroom to go will be technology. Our parent-teacher organization and administration have worked tirelessly for years to get funding for wiring and equipment to build that lab. When that classroom is dismantled to make room for another homeroom, years of work and donations will be lost, but our kids will lose the most. We are moving backwards and our kids will fall behind. We are respectfully requesting a capital expansion to ensure that all our students can learn in a safe, productive environment. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Mayers. We will now proceed with speaker number 18, David Wu.
My name is David Wu. Can you hear me?
I can. Please proceed.
Sauganash sounds like a wonderful. I'm going to speak on a different topic. At yesterday's board budget hearing, I presented facts and figures about the need for a Chinatown near South High School and how it aligns with CPS's vision. I won't repeat that testimony, but wanted to speak more personally as a former CPS parent and the executive director of a community center serving immigrant youth in Chinatown. 20 years ago, Chinatown submitted an unsuccessful proposal to open a charter high school. Students and parents then have the same challenges that students and parents today have. There are no attendance area high school in or near Chinatown. At that time, I had a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a child not yet conceived. With credit to their teachers and principals, my kids got a great CPS education at selective enrollment schools. But every day at work, I'm reminded by our youth about why a neighborhood high school is important. Student Ma doesn't participate in after-school programs because her parents think that her hour-long commute is too dangerous in the evening. Student Chen came from China last year. He speaks limited English, but goes to a school without Chinese support. Student Wu wanted to get into a high school with a Chinese bilingual program, but lived outside the attendance area and couldn't get in. My wife attended Lindblom years ago. The only time that her immigrant parents went to Lindblom was to attend her graduation. Unfortunately, this is very common for limited English-speaking parents today. With $50 million in state capital funding, there is an opportunity to meet a half-century-old need and to build a model school for Chinatown and other near-South communities. I urge CPS and the Board of Education to allocate the necessary resources to make this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wu. I would like to acknowledge the elected officials we have here to address the panelists. We have representative from the 2nd District, Representative Teresa Ma. Ms. Ma, can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can. Please proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm State Representative Teresa Ma. I represent the 2nd State House District in the General Assembly. My district encompasses all or parts of the Chicago City neighborhoods of Bridgeport, Chinatown, Pilsen, McKinley Park, Brighton Park, and Back of the Yards. I'm speaking today to express my support for the capital budget being considered, especially as it relates to a number of commitments to capital improvements at schools within my district, and furthermore includes funding for a proposed high school intended to serve students from the Chinatown, Bridgeport, and South Loop communities. I am grateful to see potentially millions of dollars that will be devoted to improvements at Holden, Healy, Armour Elementary in Bridgeport, Bridgeport and Armour Square, Perez, Pilsen Academy in Whittier in Pilsen, and Hedges and Back of the Yards High School in Back of the Yards. The improvements to things like ADA accessibility, building exteriors, mechanical upgrades, science lab renovation, and playground replacement are all important investments that will provide sorely needed improvements to the learning environment for students in my district. But the main reason I'm here to testify is because the capital budget also includes a critical key to moving forward a project that has been desired in the community for decades and is finally coming one step closer to fruition. The Chinatown community has expressed a need and a desire to have a high school serve their community for as long as I can remember. It was an issue that came up frequently when I was working as an organizer and policy advocate for the Coalition for a Better Chinese American Community 10 years ago.
As others have already mentioned in their testimony, students from Chinatown and Bridgeport have traveled as far as Rogers Park, Lakeview, Ashburn, to the farthest corners of Chicago in pursuit of quality public education. I was proud to have been able to secure an appropriation this spring in the General Assembly's list of regional capital improvement projects for $50 million toward the completion of a high school to serve the Chinatown, Bridgeport, and South Loop communities. And I'm pleased to see that the CPS capital budget reflects that appropriation, as well as includes additional funds anticipated to complete the project. This commitment to the construction of a new standalone high school in this area is deeply meaningful to the community and will go a long way to providing for the needs of a growing immigrant and English learner community population in Chinatown and Bridgeport, and to stabilizing the population of families that may well move out of the city in the absence of a nearby high-quality, accessible option for high school for their children. I look forward to the passage of this capital budget so that the community stakeholders can begin to be involved in the planning and discussions that are necessary to ensure that this project is built with robust community input and serves the needs expressed by our residents. I look forward to working with CPS and the community on this exciting project. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Representative Ma. We'll now proceed with State Representative Justin Slaughter, District 27. Okay, we're gonna move along to Alderman Byron Sitcho Lopez. Okay, the Alderman is not on the line. So thank you. This will conclude the public comment segment. I will turn the hearing over to Dr. Sweeney.
Thank you, Ms. Jeter. I appreciate your facilitation. Thank you to everyone who had an opportunity to comment, and we still want to give anyone else who has some thoughts or ideas about the capital plan. We included the link on the screen, cps.edu/capital comment form. The whole purpose is just to give an opportunity for those to share their thoughts and ideas about the capital budget. If you weren't able to log on today or wasn't able to sign up, we still want to make sure that your voices are heard. So please copy that link, share it with friends, let people know. The board and the CPS executive team is still interested in knowing what people have to say. So with that, I will conclude our session. Thank you, and I look forward to our session tomorrow. Have a good evening.